Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. We have a special guest on our show today. His name is Johnathan. He's the co-founder of Penji, a platform that gives you on-demand access to 2% of the top designers in the world. You can submit as many projects as you want. You can get completed design back in 48 hours, and you only pay a flat fee. His personal mission is to empower next generation entrepreneurs to challenge simple-minded patterns that help evaluate, execute, and produce more revenue than their business model. It gives me a great pleasure and privilege to introduce you to Johnathan. Johnathan, say hello to everyone.
Hey, Tony. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Glad to have you on the show. We're super grateful. I appreciate your time, and I've been excited to get a chance to speak with you and having our viewers and our audience kind of find out a little bit more about you, who you are, a little bit about your background, what you do, and how people can learn from your wins and mistakes. So if you're cool with it,
hopefully a little bit.
Yeah, cool. Let's
Yeah.
dive right into it. So I typically like to start off with one word open. So I'll go first. Like my one word open and how I'm feeling right now is excited. So let me ask you, what's your one word open, Jonathan?
Determined. Determined because
Awesome.
there's a lot of progress that's going to be made, and determined in the aspect of just like there's so much more that we can do as a business. So determined is definitely it.
Awesome. So as we're getting into this and we're about to hit our stride, so to speak, let us know, how did you get started in this business?
Yeah, so Penji's been in circulation since about 2016 or so. Not really into the general public until 2017. We were a digital marketing agency that did a lot of, at the time before this, we were a digital marketing agency that did a lot of web design. We did a lot of web development, and there was a lot of problems that we were solving, and none of them were necessarily the most rewarding on the planet. Making a website for like a high-end university is really awesome, right? It pays the bills, but is it actually satisfying? You're talking to the end user, which is the university, but you're not talking to the students who actually use the website. So that was a big thing that started it. And also we just weren't all that great at digital marketing at the time. And so with that being said, we decided to say, well, what can we do? And what is our mission? What is our dreams? What are our goals? And the goals in the answers to those questions revolved around like providing more of an impact, whether that's like socially, economically, whether that's just from the service ourselves. And so that's kind of when the idea of Penji came about. Was we need to help more people. We want to help more people. And because we were good at graphic design, we just gravitated towards that aspect. So it was, I would say, to summarize in like a couple of sentences, is Penji is the derivative of our past failures.
Got it. And what would you say is your biggest win, and what did you learn from it, Jonathan?
I think the biggest win as a whole is that in entrepreneurship or just business in general, that a lot of people don't necessarily promote the grit and the grind. And I think that if you really want to succeed, you have to be able to do the same thing over and over again for, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 years, literally every single day, doing the same exact thing and moving the needle. A lot of people don't have the understanding or the patience to do that. And so I think that has been the biggest win for us, has just been able to stay hyper focused on that one thing, that one mission, and just doing that and moving the needle, even if it's just like one tick ahead. That one thing is super critical and super important.
Awesome. And what would you say is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, I would actually say probably the same thing. The biggest win is also the biggest failure, because for us in particular, it's hard to actually do that, to actually stay focused, because your mind naturally gravitates towards doing something completely unique and different. Like, hey, if you ever had this thing where it's like, I had this really awesome idea, and this idea to do X, you naturally want to move into that direction because it's new, it's sexy, it's cool, but you shouldn't be able to do that. But I think in addition to that, I would say the biggest failure has been me and my personality and myself, acknowledging that as a leader, you hire people to do certain things, and sometimes you may not be you think that you're more qualified, the people that you actually hired, and not giving them the opportunity to grow. I think that has been like a big failure on my part. I also would say that another failure would be somewhere along the lines of just like getting out of my own way, constantly getting involved in your hands in the pot in some degree. And sometimes you really have to step back and say like, hey, these are the people that are here. This is why I'm here, to make very high end intellectual decisions and not necessarily get into the monotony of the daily grind.
Understood. And currently, what's your biggest expense as a business?
Biggest expense is probably payroll. We're cash flow positive and we've never received an ounce of funding. So for us in particular, we're like super, super critically lean. Anytime that we can cut an expense, we do. I'm very proud of that. And I think it's very strong that we've been able to grow the business the way that we have. We are literally just like stripping things constantly of how we can become even more lean. We ask for discounts every single opportunity that we get because that's just the way that we work. But I would say in full confidence, payroll, because we have over 100 plus people where we're paying their expenses, their payroll, their livelihood, so it's payroll.
Got it. And what's your favorite online business tool that you use?
Besides Penji, of course, I would just say I live in Google Drive. I also live in Notes. I love the note feature. Like, I'm a super user when it comes to notes. Like, I have notes, I have folders inside of folders in Notes. And I categorize everything. That's just like the way my brain works. Headspace is also a really good one that I use every single day. So I would say probably those tools.
Okay, cool. And what's your best resources that you use to acquire new clients right now?
Right now, well, see, right now in particular is a different question, a different answer than how we did it, right? So in the very beginning, we did a lot of cold email, believe it or not. We didn't have the resources and the advertising background to, or the understanding of the marketplace to actually grow our customer base. So we did a lot of cold emails to grow that base. And then we used a lot of that money in order to fuel an advertising campaign. Now we spend, 40-ish in a month in advertising, and that wasn't that way beforehand. So advertising is definitely a big one. Our SEO is incredibly important. So content marketing, we invest a ton of money inside of content marketing. We're producing at least 1 to 2 blogs a day. Our SEO is bringing us, we're ranking for very top keywords. We're approaching over 100K a month in page in visitors to our website. And so that ability to drive as many people to our website and then target them through online advertising is the best way that we're acquiring customers.
Awesome. And if you could put yourself into my shoes, what would be a question that you would ask that I'm not asking?
I think that I would probably ask myself, like, what is your definition of entrepreneurship? Because I think a lot of times it's cool to be an entrepreneur because that's like, you want to say it, you want to promote it on social media, you want to talk about it on Instagram or take pictures of yourself doing like cool things. And to me, that is like the complete opposite of my viewpoint of what entrepreneurship is. I think entrepreneurship is incredibly beautiful, but at the same time, it is incredibly hard, and not a lot of people can do it. And I think you're actually seeing that in the pandemic right now. A lot of the businesses and startups that, were good, but they didn't have a solidified business plan. They didn't have a go-to-market strategy. They didn't have the idea fully fleshed out. And they're failing because they're not able to pivot, or they're failing because they're not able to meet their cash revenue to keep the lights on. So I would say that in business, you have to be extremely agile, and you have to be able to move at a moment's notice. You have to be able to understand your market. You have to be able to understand your customer base. And you don't do that by doing 2 things. Number one, studying your customers, talking to your customers. We still to this day talk to not every single customer, but for the most part, a large majority of them. And then the other one would be data, looking at the data, looking at your numbers, where are they coming from? We run a business where people go online and they sign up for our service. So we can actually see where these coupon codes were being used, or we could see where the traffic is being done. And so that to us is the pinnacle and the reason for right now of our success.
Awesome. Those are really good nuggets that our viewers are going to walk away. Those are some solid ideas and methods they're using. So appreciate you sharing that. Also, let us know how our listeners could connect with you online and how they could find you and talk to you if they have any more questions.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I think the best bet would just go head over to penji.co. So penji.co. You can actually use the coupon code Tony Shap. So it's Tony Shap 15. So it's TonyShap 15. You'll get 15% off your first purchase. And yeah, we want you guys to use it. You know, Penji is a tool for people who don't have the necessary funds to and afford a full-time graphic designer. We're $500 a month, and you can get unlimited graphic design. It's a steal, in my opinion. And we want to make graphic design more accessible to the world. And I think we're doing a really good job of it. And the more people that know about it, the more people we could help. So I appreciate everything you do for your community, Tony. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Of course, you're very welcome, and I appreciate you being on the show. And let's go on and finish it up with the famous one-word close. So what is the one-word close for you that you can wrap this up for our viewers, and we'll sign off?
Grit.
Grit?
Grit. Yeah.
Awesome.
Grit, because that's what it takes to survive. That's it.
I love it. I love it. Johnathan, thank you very much. And we're going to have some great takeaways and appreciate your time. And thank you so much for being on the show. And until next time.